The air crackled with anticipation. The city seemed to hold its breath, as if sensing the impending doom that would soon unfold. The streets were unusually quiet, a stark contrast to the usual Sunday hustle and bustle. It was as if the entire city was on edge, waiting for something to happen. It was Sunday, February 11th, 2024, a day etched in infamy. The date would forever be remembered, not for the usual Sunday gatherings or family outings, but for the horror that would soon grip the hearts of many. Lakewood Church, a beacon of faith in the heart of Houston, Texas, teemed with life. Thousands had gathered, the faithful seeking solace, families seeking hope. The church was a sanctuary, a place where people came to find peace and comfort. But on this day, peace was shattered. Then, the unthinkable. A deafening roar shattered the serenity. Gunfire. The sound echoed through the halls, a violent intrusion into a place of worship. It was a sound that would haunt the memories of those present for years to come. Screams pierced the air, replacing hymns and prayers. The congregation, moments ago united in faith, was now united in fear. Faces contorted in terror, voices raised in panic. The sacred space had become a scene of chaos. Chaos ensued as congregants scrambled for cover. People ducked under pews, clung to each other, and searched for any means of escape. The sense of safety they had felt just moments before was replaced by sheer terror. It was a scene of utter pandemonium. Chairs were overturned, belongings scattered, and the once orderly congregation was now a frantic, disordered mass. The church, a place of order and reverence, had descended into chaos. A nightmare unfolding in broad daylight. The bright sun outside stood in stark contrast to the darkness that had enveloped the hearts of those inside. It was a cruel reminder that terror can strike at any time, even in the light of day. Janessa Yvonne Moreno, a 36-year-old woman, had unleashed terror within the sacred halls. Her face was a mask of determination and despair, a tragic figure driven to a horrific act. Clutching an AR-15-style rifle, she transformed a sanctuary into a battleground. The weapon, a symbol of violence, was a stark contrast to the peaceful surroundings of the church. The sanctuary, meant to be a place of refuge, had become a place of fear. By her side stood her 7-year-old son Samuel, an unwitting witness to the horrors about to unfold. His innocent eyes took in the chaos, a child caught in a nightmare he could not understand. Lives hung precariously in the balance. Faith was tested. The congregation, once united in worship, now found themselves united in a desperate struggle for survival. The bonds of community were strained, but not broken. And in the aftermath, a community grappled with the haunting question, how could this happen here? The sense of shock and disbelief was palpable. As they gathered to mourn and seek answers, the community was left to pick up the pieces and find a way to heal. Lakewood Church, a sprawling edifice of glass and steel, stood as a testament to the power of faith. Founded in 1959, it had become synonymous with the ministry of Pastor Joel Osteen, a charismatic figure known for his message of hope and prosperity. Osteen, with his infectious smile and unwavering optimism, had built a global following. Millions tuned into his televised sermons. His books topped bestseller lists. Lakewood, under his leadership, became a beacon, drawing over 45,000 worshipers each week. It was a place where the downtrodden sought solace, where the faithful found fellowship. A fortress of positivity, seemingly impervious to the darkness that plagued the world outside. Yet, on that fateful Sunday, evil pierced its walls, exposing the fragility of peace even in the most sacred of spaces. Janessa Yvonne Moreno was no stranger to darkness. Her life was a constant battle against the shadows that seemed to follow her every step. From a young age, she was haunted by an overwhelming sense of despair and confusion, feelings that only intensified as she grew older. Her life, marred by mental illness, was a tapestry of shattered dreams and unfulfilled promises. The broken mirror of her existence reflected a face that had seen too much pain, too many disappointments. The abandoned playgrounds and rundown houses of her past were silent witnesses to her struggles. Diagnosed with schizophrenia, she grappled with a reality that often blurred with delusion. The crowded streets felt like a maze, each face a potential threat, each sound a possible trigger. Her mind was a battlefield where the lines between reality and hallucination were constantly shifting. Her descent was a slow burn, marked by erratic behavior and increasingly desperate cries for help. Public outbursts and private breakdowns became more frequent, each episode a cry for understanding that went unheard. She wandered aimlessly, a disheveled figure lost in her own torment. A custody battle over her son Samuel further fueled her instability. The courtroom became a battleground where her pleas for custody were met with skepticism and cold legal jargon. The separation from her son was a wound that never healed, a source of constant anguish. The courts, cold and unforgiving, offered little solace. The imposing buildings and the echo of the judge's gavel were reminders of a system that seemed indifferent to her suffering. The empty courtroom, once filled with her desperate pleas, now stood as a monument to her defeat. In the months leading up to the shooting, her grip on reality seemed to falter. She spent hours staring blankly at the walls, her mind a whirlpool of dark thoughts. Her apartment, once a place of refuge, became a prison filled with disturbing drawings and symbols that mirrored her inner chaos. Anti-Semitic writings and disturbing symbols adorned her apartment. The walls, covered in graffiti and hateful messages, were a testament to her growing paranoia and anger. Each symbol, each word, was a reflection of the darkness that had taken hold of her mind. Her online presence, once a window into a troubled but hopeful soul, grew dark, laced with paranoia and anger. Her social media posts, once filled with pleas for understanding, became rants against imagined enemies. The screen, once a connection to the world, now only amplified her isolation. The purchase of an AR-15-style rifle in December 2023, legal yet chilling in hindsight, hinted at a growing potential for violence. The transaction, a simple exchange of money for a weapon, was a turning point. The rifle, cold and mechanical, became a symbol of her final descent. Yet, the warning signs went unheeded. The people around her, oblivious to her growing distress, continued with their lives. Each ignored sign, each missed opportunity for intervention, was a step closer to the inevitable tragedy. Janessa, lost in the labyrinth of her own mind, slipped further into the abyss, dragging her young son with her. The darkness that had always been a part of her life finally consumed her, leaving a trail of pain and sorrow in its wake. The first shot ripped through the air, a deafening blast that sent shockwaves through the sanctuary. Panic seized the congregation. The serene atmosphere of the church was shattered in an instant, replaced by a cacophony of screams and the sound of feet scrambling for safety. The once peaceful sanctuary, a place of solace and reflection, was now a scene of utter chaos and terror. What began as a day of prayer and reflection descended into chaos. The congregation who had gathered to find peace and solace were now thrust into a nightmare. The echoes of hymns were replaced by cries for help, and the sacred space became a battleground of survival. It was like a bomb went off, recalled Sarah Jenkins, a parishioner for over a decade. Her voice trembled as she recounted the horror, her eyes reflecting the trauma of that fateful day. The memories of the explosion, the screams, and the chaos were etched into her mind, a haunting reminder of the fragility of life. People were screaming, running, diving under pews. It was pure terror. The instinct to survive took over, and the congregation scattered in every direction, seeking any form of cover they could find. The pews, once seats of worship, became shields against the onslaught of violence. John Miller, attending the service with his wife and 2 young children, described the scene as surreal. He had never imagined that a place of worship could become a scene of such horror. The disbelief in his voice was palpable as he recounted the events, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and sorrow. One minute we were singing hymns, the next we were dodging bullets. The transition from peace to pandemonium was instantaneous, leaving no time to comprehend the reality of the situation. The hymns, once a source of comfort, were now a distant memory as survival instincts kicked in. My wife shielded our children with her body. Her maternal instincts took over, and she became a human shield, protecting our children from the chaos that surrounded us. The fear in her eyes was matched only by her determination to keep our family safe. We thought we were going to die. The sense of impending doom was overwhelming and the fear was palpable. Every second felt like an eternity as we waited for the nightmare to end. As Moreno stalked the aisles, her guns spitting fire, the air grew thick with the stench of gunpowder and fear. The sight of her, a figure of terror, moving through the sanctuary, was a vision of pure horror. The once sacred space was now a battlefield, and the congregation were its unwilling participants. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd as a man crumpled to the floor, blood blooming from a gunshot wound to his leg. The sight of blood on the sacred ground was a stark reminder of the violence that had invaded their sanctuary. The man's cries of pain echoed through the church, a chilling soundtrack to the chaos. But the most heart-wrenching cries came from a child caught in the crossfire. The innocence of youth was shattered in an instant, replaced by a fear that no child should ever have to experience. The child's cries were a haunting reminder of the true cost of violence. Samuel, his small frame trembling, witnessed the unthinkable. His mother, consumed by madness, transforming into an agent of destruction. The sight of his mother, once a figure of love and protection, now a source of terror, was a trauma that would stay with him forever. The day of terror had left an indelible mark on all who witnessed it, but none more so than the innocent eyes of a child. The officers, alerted by the sudden commotion, quickly sprang into action. They knew time was of the essence. With a swift and coordinated effort, they began to secure the area and assess the situation. Each officer moved with purpose, their training evident in every step. They communicated efficiently, ensuring that no detail was overlooked. The scene was tense, but their resolve was unshaken. As the dust began to settle, they knew their response had been crucial in maintaining order. As we delve deeper into the mind of Moreno, we begin to uncover layers of complexity that defy simple explanation. What drove him to such lengths? Was it a desperate cry for help, or something more sinister? These questions linger, prompting us to look beyond the surface and explore the intricate web of his motivations. Navigating the legal labyrinth surrounding this case is no small feat. The legal system, with its many twists and turns, can be daunting. Each step, each decision, carries immense weight and consequences. Understanding the legal intricacies helps us grasp the full scope of the challenges faced by all involved. The aftermath of the incident continues to unfold, affecting countless lives. Families, communities, and institutions are all grappling with the repercussions. The ripple effects are far-reaching, reminding us that the impact of such events extends well beyond the immediate moment. Reflecting on this incident brings to light important discussions about faith, safety, and mental health. How do we balance our beliefs with the need for security? What measures can we take to ensure mental well-being in our communities? These reflections challenge us to think deeply and consider the steps we can take to create a safer, more supportive world for everyone.